Yeah.
Yes. Amari, good. All right. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for the year to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2023, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk. Right. Pappas,
Here.
Luca,
Here.
Zangle.
Here.
Mayor Adams. Here.
Whereas Chapter 231 Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas desire the governing body to comply with the provision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be resolved by the Township Committee. Township of Maplewood does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observations of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Pappas,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Bengal.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes. All set. Please rise for a salute to the flag, if I can get my words. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. How many engineers?
He sent me a picture that they're gonna take care of.
That's got to get fixed. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024 meeting of the Maplewood Township Committee. Now that we're out of August and we're getting back on regular schedules, we're going to have one proclamation tonight that will be read by Committee Member Engel on Suicide Prevention Month. We have nothing for boards and committees, right? Yeah, that's next meeting. And then we go into our Board of Health meeting. Then we have one ordinance on final passage with regard to the building department, basically. And then we have no introductions for ordinances. We have reports from departments. We have the budget report in case Mr. Weary would like to add anything to that or explain anything. He's there to answer questions. Then he will do his own report. Then we have our township attorney and our township clerk reports, then reports from elected officials. Committee member Daffis will kick us off. Deputy Mayor Kripitz is unable to be with us this evening. Committee member DeLuca is next, and committee member Engel, and then mine. We have one item for demolition review ordinances for discussion. Then we have the consent agenda and, public comment for agenda items only in the beginning and public comment again at the end for any subject matter. So with that, I will move it over to Ms. Engel to read the proclamation for today.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Suicide Prevention Month. Whereas September is recognized as Suicide Prevention Month, a time when millions of people join voices to bring visibility to the role everyone in the community can play in preventing suicide. And whereas, according to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death among adults, leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 and 34 in the U.S. And whereas the stigma associated with mental illness and suicidality continues to work against suicide prevention efforts by discouraging those who are at risk for suicide from seeking life-saving assistance and further traumatizes survivors of suicide. And whereas the goal of Suicide Prevention Month is to destigmatize the conversation surrounding suicide prevention, encourage community members to know the signs of someone at risk for suicide to help connect people with the appropriate support. And whereas Maplewood aims to highlight the importance of preventative measures as an essential need in our community, and whereas Maplewood encourages all residents to take the time to understand the importance of mental health education and recognize that taking care of ourselves and others includes taking care of mental health. And whereas Maplewood is committed to coordinating the collaborative efforts of community partners in the development and implementation of evidence-based suicide prevention, intervention, and post-intervention strategies. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Deborah Engel, on behalf of Mayor Nancy Adams and the entire Maplewood Township Committee, do hereby proclaim the month of September as Suicide Prevention Month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Applaud for that. It seems weird to. Okay, before we go into public comment on agenda items only, I just want to welcome our new assistant administrator who just started a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, Miriam Perez. Welcome. And you'll get to hear public comment from me. I'm sure you've watched a few past meetings probably. So we're going to go to public comment for agenda items only. Is there anyone in the house who would like to come on up? Name, address, and 3 minutes to speak.
Make sure that thing.
Yeah, make sure the mic's down.
Nope.
Yeah.
Push the button.
Nope.
No, I thought it
There
was
you
on.
go.
Is that on?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Shear. I live at 27 Tuscan Road in Maplewood. And I am here to ask you all to support and to vote in favor of the resolution 30624 on tonight's agenda, which expresses your support for the ranked choice voting bill that's currently been introduced in our state legislature. This bill would allow towns to put a decision to its voters in the form of a ballot referendum of whether they would like to use ranked choice voting for their school board and general local elections. And I spoke at your previous meeting urging you to pass a trigger ordinance in support of this bill. But as your township committee lawyer pointed out, a resolution is a much more measured approach than essentially enacting a bill which has yet to be finalized. And passing a resolution, I think, will be just as effective because the point of this resolution is not only to express to the legislature that the Maplewood Township Committee is in support of this bill, but that our town is in support of ranked choice voting in general and of the many positives that it would bring to our elections and to our political climate. And I'm not going to mention all these positives here since you collectively addressed them so well at your last meeting. I'm so encouraged by your discussion at the last meeting and your willingness to support this resolution. And I hope that you all vote tonight to pass it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yes. Hi.
Evening. My name is Lily Benavides. I live in Parsippany. And I came here tonight to express my support for the ranked choice voting. I believe it makes it easier for the voter. It makes a better experience. I am a person that I'm always pushing for people to vote because I think it should be an obligation to do it. And some express that it's difficult, it's complicated, they don't seem to understand it, or they don't like the candidates, they don't see someone that is representing them. So if we have this method, we can have people that can represent the diversity that we have. Also, it would eliminate the need of expensive elections, which leads to corruption, and which I would give opportunity to other people to run for office. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Is there anyone else present who would like to address the Township Committee? Mr. Weary, anyone online?
Any members of the public joining on Zoom would like to speak on resolution items, please raise your hand now. I am promoting Mary Gallagher to panelist. Welcome to the public portion, Ms. Gallagher. You may unmute yourself and address the committee.
Yes, hello. My name is Mary Gallagher. I live at 60 Salter Place in Maplewood. I'm also here to speak about the ranked choice voting resolution, which I expect you're going to pass tonight, so I'm not so concerned with persuading you, but is thanking you. At a time when democracy is under attack around the country, and even here in New Jersey, where Democrats have gutted pay-to-play laws and the Open Public Records Act, I am grateful that the Maplewood Township Committee is taking this step to strengthen our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Where anyone?
Any other members of the public on Zoom would like to speak on agenda items, please raise your hand now. I'm moving over Zach Kearns to panelist. Welcome to public portion, Mr. Kearns. You may unmute yourself and address the committee.
Hello, my name is Zach Kearns. I'm a resident who spoke at the last meeting from South Orange in support of the ranked choice voting resolution that you're now introducing. And I also want to extend my thanks for bringing this forward and taking this step to try and change the way that we vote, not only in New Jersey, but also as a next door neighbor in the shared school district and school board elections. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public on Zoom would like to speak in public portion, please raise your hand now. I see no other hands, Mayor.
Great, thank you. And thanks to everyone for speaking up on that. Like to move now from public comment to our Board of Health meeting. I'm going to turn it over to committee member Engel.
Thanks, Mayor. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2024 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2023, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Ms. Cripe? Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Luca?
Here.
Mayor
Oh,
Ray?
here.
Here.
Ms. Engel?
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the Board of Health has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas the Board of Health to comply with the provision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be resolved by the Maplewood Board of Health, the Township of Maplewood does hereby prohibit except set forth in a formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the Board of Health by the public, except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to observations of the actions and discussions of the Board of Health at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Luca?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes. Now I move to approve the Board of Health meeting minutes from August 6, 2024.
Second.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes. Now I will turn it over to our Health Officer, Candace Davenport.
Good morning, or good evening, everyone. If I could just have the PowerPoint set up for presentation this evening. Happy September.
Davenport, I think we,
Oh, happy September.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Okay,
I know you're probably jet lagged, so.
yes. So I just want to highlight that our upcoming health screenings at the farmers market will be held September 9th. Along with that, we'll be working with the Maplewood Police Department on having a Maplewood mobile drug disposal where people can discard or their unused or expired medication safely. That'll be at the Maplewood Farmers Market on 1662 Springfield Avenue from 3 to 6 p.m. And our health screenings will be there from 2 to 6 p.m. and they're free. Next slide. On to our nursing update. This month was a busy month for reportable diseases that were investigated. Our nurse investigated 13 cases, And an update on the August 5th screenings at the farmer's market. 8 people were screened for stroke risk assessments and glucose A1C screenings. Next slide. We want to highlight that our partners at Morrow Memorial United Methodist Church will be holding a blood drive that's open to the community. That will be held this Thursday, September 5th, from 3:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Maplewood Church on Ridgewood Road. There is a registration link, so we encourage people to donate because for every pint of blood that is donated, 3 lives could be saved. Next slide. Moving on to our Animal Control Solutions monthly report for the month of July. We had 21 calls. Most of them were for wildlife. We had 3 bites that were reported to Animal Control Solutions in the month of July. And they addressed 3 strays that were found in Maplewood. Next slide. We are keeping busy at the Maplewood Health Department with a rabies vaccine clinic. That'll be held on Wednesday, September 18th. Ahead of time, we just want to thank Valley Vet and the veterinarian, Dr. Morcos, for volunteering his time to provide this vaccine clinic from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we will be working with the South Essex Fire Department at their Maplewood Station on Donnell Road. This event is free and open to the public to vaccinate their dogs and cats. No need for registration. Walk-ins are welcome. Moving on to environmental health. For the month of August, as you can see, we had several food truck inspections. That was because of our summer outdoor events, which we were glad to do. We had childcare inspections and complaints. Most of them were for rodent, mold, garbage, and dog complaints. Next slide. Moving on to social services and mental health. To provide an update for our crisis intervention social workers for the month of August, they addressed 15 cases with 7 co-responses and 7 clinical cases. They'll also be presenting a yearly update, to the Community Board on Police meeting tomorrow evening. So if you would like to learn more about the details of their work, they can attend that meeting as well. Moving on, we have our Collaborative Support Programs of New Jersey, or CSP&J, Homeless Outreach and Engagement update. So for the month of August, they addressed 27 cases. As you can see that the homeless outreach and engagement was 15, but that the diversion and prevention services, which are increasing, is also up to par. So they're addressing both homelessness and prevention of homelessness. So they're making great efforts and strides, especially at the library. Next slide. This is getting out. So thank you to everyone for spreading the word that CSP&J is available for free help on Saturdays from 12 to 2. The library has seen an increase in service providership and people who are coming to the library for help with filling out applications like food stamps and housing and job applications. So thank you for getting the word out on that. Next slide. As we highlighted in the resolution for suicide prevention this month, so thank you, Ms. Engel, for that. Just want to highlight that on 9/8 or September 8th, we are celebrating and acknowledging and raising awareness for 988, which is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. This is a national phone number that people can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And their theme for this year is no judgment, just help. So we're trying to emphasize the importance of mental health support and that everyone should take advantage of it, not only if you are in crisis, but if you yourself know of someone who is in crisis, they can be there to help. We also provide virtual Narcan training updates from our friends at Rutgers and Essex County Adapt. They're offering another virtual Narcan training. This is also free on September 17th at 11 a.m. You can register for this. They have a maximum of 25 participants, but if you participate, you learn how to recognize and respond to an opioid overdose, and you receive a free Narcan kit. As I've mentioned before, in some of the data that we're looking at, elderly people are interestingly, the inadvertent opioid overdose cases that we see in New Jersey. And so we like to tell people that if you are a caregiver of a senior, please take advantage of these free online classes. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just do a virtual class and be there to save a life, because sometimes people forget that they took too much medication and they overdose inadvertently. So please, for all caregivers of seniors or someone who is in chronic pain or uses opioids at home, please take advantage of these Narcan trainings. Next slide. As we begin our school year this Thursday, we wanted to highlight this new signage at lawn signs at all of the elementary schools. So we have partnered with the school district and all of the little elementary schools. We have included their logos as well as the logos for the Municipal Alliance. And these lawn signs will be put out in front of all of the elementary schools this month. So we're working with all the Maplewood ones, and South Orange is doing the South Orange ones. All these are being funded through the Maplewood Municipal Alliance. So we're really getting out there to tell people that parents or guardians who spend 15 minutes per day with their child can improve their health and well-being. Sometimes it's just nice to be reminded that spending time with their kids is just the way to get to address mental health too. So we want to thank the school district for partnering with us on that. Next slide. This is also to address, DC Kripe had mentioned about universal home visiting. And although the name universal home visiting doesn't really address it, it is free visitations from a nurse 2 weeks postpartum. So after you deliver, you can have a nurse talk to you about baby care, about family planning, about how to make the adjustments. And it's even for, you know, the little children and your partner as you welcome a new person into the world. So we encourage people in Essex County, but especially in Maplewood, to take advantage of this free universal home visiting program for all women 2 weeks postpartum. Next slide. And of course, for mental health, we just want to emphasize that people can make the right call. Again, you'll see the 988 mental health crisis phone number, but also 911 for emergency services, 211 for social services, and the 800 number for poison control. And that is a national number as well. Next slide. And that is it for the Board of Health presentation for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Ms. Davenport from my colleagues? Mr. DeLuca?
I want to ask a question about the work with the homeless over at the near Indiana, the Indiana Street parking lot. You mentioned the work around the library, which I know is a problem, and thank you. We just installed some new benches there. These have dividers.
Yes.
And what we were hoping, and we actually reduced by a third. There were 6 benches between Indiana and Park, and there are now 4 benches, the new benches with the arms in between. One of the reasons was to try to prevent lying down and sleeping there. It still seems to be happening. Is there anything that we can do in our interaction with homeless individuals to try to encourage them not to sleep there or sleep, not to lie there? Because it does, first of all, with reduced seating, we need more seats. And secondly, it is a problem. It's a visual problem. It's a real problem. They need a place to sleep, but it's a visual problem too. Yeah. So in our conversations with, both either our staff or the CSPNJ staff, is there some way we can try to discourage that from happening?
Sure, yes. When CSP&J goes there, and they go there every day that they're here, they have developed a relationship with the persons who are there. They've taken them to Better Life, which is their location in Newark, where they've gotten them food, where they've talked to them about some of their needs. In their cases, sometimes people can refuse to go, and sometimes people can refuse the help. But we keep trying every day to get them to find other resources and other locations to stay. Some of them may not be homeless, but they choose to congregate there because they find companionship among the people who are there, and they understand one another. We will continue to encourage them to find other locations, or if they have issues with their own housing, to help them with that. We will also address that they shouldn't be lying down on those. We want them to be a part of the solution, so they may not understand why the change was even made. So we can reemphasize that was the change for the township and why the benches are reformatted that way.
Do we have people out on the weekends, or is it just Monday through Friday?
CSB&J is out there Saturdays, so after they're at the library from 12 to 2, they're there from 3 to 8,
Okay.
going around.
Great. Thank you.
May I follow up on that?
Go ahead, Mr. Davis.
Not to target anyone, obviously, but is there any way that we could ask CSP&J to work with those folks, in particular, the committeeman DeLuca referenced, as they may be sheltered individuals. Sheltered means they may be already admitted into and assigned and registered to a shelter, but because it's nice outside, they prefer to be outside for obvious reasons, or they may be unsheltered folks.
Yes.
There's all
There's
kinds
a
of
mix.
categories of houseless folks. So could we find out a little bit more about that and see what we can do to directly assist them?
Yes, one of the things that I know they have regular contact with at least 4 males there that seem to be frequent. They are also in touch with the residents who have been taking pictures and just chronicling that there are people there. So they are talking to the residents as well, and then they go there as soon as they can to the location if they haven't talked to them already that day. CSP&J is also going to try to get a Spanish-speaking staffer to come, especially to the Indiana locations. There seems to be an increase of Hispanic speakers who utilize the community fridge. And so should they need CSP&J services, they're going to also make that available, since that's a language can be a barrier to service access.
Thank you.
And just whoever's idea was to put the new refrigerator that you can see in, it's a great idea,
Yeah,
because
that was
Sure, sure, I
that was UCC.
well, it was a great idea
Yeah.
because it just allows people to see without having to open it and close it and open it and
Correct.
close, which
Yeah.
then taxes the machine.
Exactly.
No.
It's been- yeah.
So having it there, it also, when you see stuff, you take a little more ownership. Some of the volunteers will maybe clean it out. They'll see something in there that shouldn't be in there.
Mhm.
So I think it was a good idea.
And it looks better already. And I find that some of the issues that we had there have decreased, not eliminated, but decreased.
Yeah, and I think that was the whole goal of trying to address the community fridge and how to make improvements. And I think the township has done a great job, and people see that the township cares about this, and all of our partners like UCC and CSP&J care about. And so we want to make it a dignified and wonderful experience as best as possible. So thank you for your support on that one. I also want to thank engineering and administration and DPW for installing that. So thank you.
Don't give away your thanks.
This is all you. This is your praise.
Don't give it away. It's hard to get.
Any other questions from my colleagues? Is there anybody here that would like to ask our health officer any questions? I'm opening it up to the public in our room first.
You have to-
Mrs.
You have to
Smith,
come
will
up.
Come up to the mic.
Just go.
Oh, hi, Ms. Davenport. Thank you so much for that report. I had one question about
Could you identify yourself for the record? I'm sorry.
Maplewood, 6 South Crescent. My one question was about the unhoused individuals in Maplewood, what members of the public should do if they see someone. We had an individual at our house recently. And so I wasn't sure who to call. I know you're doing such great work with that. And I wanted to make sure the public also knows the information on who to call to get them the services that you have. Thank you.
It's a good question. Yeah.
Yes, that is a great question. CSP&J has a hotline phone number that we can share on our website as well as on our e-blast. We were trying to work out the snafus about that before we put it out to the public. So it was going to the police department and the library. But now that we know that someone will be receiving it or responding to the phone calls, we can definitely share that now with the public. We're also working with CSP&J on releasing a press release.
Mhm.
So that will be coming out shortly with the hotline phone number that residents can call. It also will provide when to call CSP&J, right? If you identify someone who is unhoused or they themselves identify as unhoused, that is what the appropriate time to call the hotline. That hotline is not 24/7. So I just want to make that clear. CSP&J will answer it if they're on shift for Maplewood. Otherwise, they'll respond to it the next business day and get information. But should you have an immediate concern or incident, the police department has the phone number for CSP&J. So you can call their non-emergency number or their emergency number, and they can relay that message to CSP&J immediately, and they can follow up that day if they're on shift or the next business day to assist.
So, but what about if this is the assumption I'm making based on what Malia said was that somebody came to their house, which is a little different than encountering in a public area.
Right.
So-
So if there was, an incident where the unhoused person is unknown to you and maybe trespassing, then that's a police assistance, and that would be, a 911 phone call. If the person is unhoused and they are familiar to you and they're looking for assistance, you can reach out to CSP&J for more help for identifying social services that they need.
I'm a little concerned. Because I find that, anyway, we could talk about it again when we get closer to a final product in terms of communicating to the public.
Yeah.
How to make the right call.
Yes.
Because I really think this is another category of making the right call, right? Because we're going to have folks who are going to call. We have folks who call the police about this, about an unhoused, unthreatening
Yes.
person
Right.
who is merely sitting somewhere,
Right.
not doing anything, not trespassing, not being a public nuisance,
Yep.
not engaged in a misdemeanor or felony or anything
Correct.
like that, right? They are just merely present as an unhoused person on the streets of Maplewood.
Right.
And people call the police, and there's nothing the police can do about that. But the police do respond because we have an awesome police department, and they take all the calls and they respond.
Yes.
But that increases the harm to that person. And there might be people out there who are listening to this and saying, hey, Daffis, you crazy liberal, why is that causing harm to the person? Well, because it goes back to the issue that we talked about earlier, which is how do we get folks to trust that there are people there to help them?
Yes.
Well, guess what? The way not to get them to trust the people who are trying to help them is to have a police officer show up, no matter how kind or warm or welcoming. So that is the issue. And I think that we all need to figure out here, maybe we could talk about it in communications. The chair of communications committee is committee woman Engel there. So we need to talk about this and figure out how to make the right call. And maybe we can add it to our make the right call flyer if it will fit on there. But I think we need to sort of help people triage.
Yes.
Because it's education, right? If a dangerous situation, if threatening, of course, call the police.
Correct.
If non-threatening, non-dangerous,
Right.
don't call the police non-emergency number. Call CSP&J,
We can do that now with the hotline. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So we have to figure out how to triage these situations.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the police are going out there as a co-response anyway,
Yes.
and there isn't anything that they can do.
Well, with our crisis intervention social worker program, the PD does go out there to assess the situation and determine the safety of it. So they can, they're trained to triage and figure out what the situation is. We rely on them to be able to do that. People can call CSP&J if there's a person that they've identified as unhoused and that person identifies as unhoused or in need of social services with regards to a housing aspect. But like I said, calling the PD is, I find, essential for us because CSP&J is only on shift certain hours of the week. And so if someone's calling and they're not on shift, CSP&J can respond afterward once they get a report from the PD of what happened. So that's where the PD can be helpful in just recording what happened, but they have the phone number to CSP&J to call them. And if there's an emergency and they find that someone is unhoused, they can call CSP&J, their directorship, and maybe they can send somebody out. But I don't want people to think that the hotline is a 24/7
Right.
availability.
Right.
with-
Even the county doesn't have 24/7 capacity, of
Right.
course. Of
Right.
course, I understand. This brings me also to another point that was in social media recently. And it's also a very good question, and it's something we haven't resolved before. We talked about getting there, we haven't gotten there yet. How do you reach a social worker? How do you reach our crisis intervention social workers, right? And the previous guidance rather was call the police non-emergency number,
Yes.
right? And I'm not sure that is the best way to go about it because unless it's a domestic violence situation, again, a threatening situation, our crisis intervention social workers can do a response and they can call the police in if they find that that's necessary. But for an emotionally disturbed person or for someone experiencing some other crisis and they need immediate help, I don't think that calling the police again is the best way to handle that either.
Mr. Daffis, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I know that we talked about this a little bit at the communications committee meeting, and I've also talked to Ms. Davenport about it, and we decided that the best place to continue this conversation is at the Health and Community Services meeting, which I believe is next Monday, maybe.
I think we're deciding on a
We're in the
date.
middle of rescheduling it because it was supposed to be on Labor Day. So we talked about having a more robust conversation there because there is a communication issue. There's a lot of going on because when we don't have people on staff all the time, we don't want to give one number out to the public because what if then they're not getting a call back or it is a real emergency? And we know the concerns also about going to PD, but there's also reasons between the way the partnership works with our crisis intervention social workers and the PD. So there's like a lot of different moving parts that I think we just need all of our brains together in our committee to just talk through all the different reasons and try to figure out like how to move forward and what the information is that's going to the public so that people actually understand who they're supposed to be calling and to make sure that the proper process and protocol that's supposed to happen is actually happening. So I think if we can just table, if it's okay with everybody here, to table this until our Health and Community Services meeting, and we can make sure Ms. Crite puts it on the agenda at the top so that we don't skip over it.
Yep. Just putting it on the radar. Yep.
And I appreciate Committee Member Engel. There are nuances in lots of ways. And so communication about this process is
Mhm.
super important so we can get all of everyone's buy-in, but also understanding of when is the appropriate time to call. Thank you.
Any other questions from the public for Ms. Davenport in the room? Mr. Wary, can you help assist public comment online?
If any members of the public joining on Zoom would like to address the Board of Health, please raise your hand now. I see no hands.
Awesome. So with that, I move that we adjourn until our next scheduled meeting on Tuesday, October 1st.
Second.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes.
Ms. Engel.
Yes. Back to you, Mayor.
I can't. We have another public comment meeting after the rest of the agenda, and it's relatively short. So if you could wait till the next public comment meeting at
Yeah.
at the end of business of the rest of the agenda. Yes,
Period, as I think you meant, period, public comment period.
right. Okay, so we'll move to ordinances on final passage. Ms. Fritzen.
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance on final passage. Item number 9A. Ordinance number 3128-24 is an ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 93 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Building Construction with respect to permit submission requirements and requirements during construction. This ordinance will amend and supplement Chapter 93, Building Construction, and the Township Code to add new sections detailing permit submission requirements and requirements for the maintenance of sites during construction.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Is there anyone, I'm opening the hearing on this, is there anyone in the public who would like to comment on this ordinance? Seeing no one inside the building, Mr. Ware, is there anyone online?
If any members of the public on Zoom would like to speak on this ordinance, please raise your hand now. I see no hands.
Thank you. May I get a motion for this, please?
Yes, Mayor, I move this ordinance to be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
I'll second. Ms. Fritzen.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Sengel.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you. We have no introductions for any new ordinances, so we'll move to reports from the departments and we'll start with administrative. Mr. Weary.
Thank you, Mayor. Two reports. First, we have our bulk drop-off program, which we hold twice a year. We had some changes in dates for that. I'll put them up on the screen so the public can see. We have them on our website and have put out an email to the public on this. So what was to be held September 14th will now be held October 12th, and then Monday, October 14th through Wednesday, October 16th, and then again Saturday, October 19th. The Saturday hours are 8 to 2, and the Monday through Wednesday hours are 8 to 3 p.m. You can find more information about that on our website, which I will share now. And the second item is that this Friday, September 6th, we will hold our annual employee appreciation event that will be held in the afternoon. And so town hall will be closing early. We'll put a notice on out to the public on that as well. That's my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Weary?
I have one question. So our students are going back to school on Thursday. They're all excited to start another academic year. I'm wondering if there's been any coordination with the school district and the requisite public safety officials about safe routes to school. That was definitely something, we didn't do the best job in terms of coordinating last year at this time. And I'm wondering where we are this year about that.
Our police department had a meeting last week with the Board of Ed officials to discuss exactly that, any changes in starting times or ending times, bus routes, maybe changes in where children are walking to from their homes to their school. So we're aware, at least as much as the school district knows, of how we will start this school year. Obviously, there may be adjustments needed as we start. We will keep an eye out for any changes that we hadn't noticed prior. Additionally, we have in this budget year increased our staff of crossing guards so that we're not adding crossing guard posts, but we will have additional guards for when our current guards call out sick potentially or are unable to work. And so that'll to help. We'll have guards that are always familiar with their crossing assignments. It also frees up police officers normally previously had covered those posts to be available for other incidents that are happening in the morning and afternoon during crossing guard time. So that'll help it a little bit as well. And either we have or we will put out an email to the public regarding tips for going back to school, being aware of traffic.
You did put it out and it was amazing. I was going to mention it in my report. It was a very good email.
Yes.
was excited.
Assistant business administrator took that on herself and did a wonderful job, worked with the chief of police on that. And I know the chief had also gotten that out to some local media, so that was published there as well.
That's terrific. Thank you for the update. And I see that the school district did put out some information on for parents on how to ask questions about or raise concerns about their child's respective walking route. That's on the district's website. Parents can consult that there. Thank you.
Welcome.
Anyone else have questions for Mr. Wary? Nope, you're off the hook. We'll move to Mr. Credidio.
Thank you, Mayor. Only one quick item, just as a reminder, the Oprah amendments that were passed earlier this spring went into effect today, was the magical day. As far as the township interfacing with residents, a lot of the things that are now required, township was previously doing, redacting, personal information, phone numbers, email addresses, that kind of thing. So there's not going to be, I think, a tremendous amount of difference in how the township interacts with people seeking public records. Of course, the biggest change to the law itself is the change to the availability of attorney's fees to people who feel that they have not been presented with the appropriate records. But hopefully that is something we will see very rarely.
Okay, that's it, just one. Okay, any questions for Ms. Credidio? All righty, and we'll move on to our township clerk, Ms. Fritzen.
Thanks, Mayor. So I just wanted to report, as you know, we're making plans for our annual volunteer appreciation dinner. And I had presented the township committee with a proposed date. And, before I announce it tonight, just want to make sure that the township committee is available. I haven't heard otherwise. So, awaiting your reply. Thank you.
Oh, I thought we figured that out, no?
I sent you a save the date.
Oh, right. I
I
didn't think
figured
you
to
could
save
weigh
the
in. I
date
thought you
meant
were
that
just
it was,
telling
put
us.
this on your calendar. This is what we had to be.
Yeah, I thought it was resolved too.
Like my date.
I thought when you said save the date, that was it. So now you want us
So
to
you like it?
opine on it. What was it, like September 29th
Monday,
or
October
something?
21st.
21st.
October 20th.
October 21st, okay.
All right. I'm saving that date right now.
We had a pool advisory committee meeting that night was the only thing, but they'll all be invited, so we can maybe leave earlier. That was the only thing that I had on my calendar that was a conflict.
Any questions for Ms. Fritzen on any other topics that the clerk should know about? Okay. All right, then we'll move to elected officials. Mr. Daffis.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I've got tonight is to welcome everybody back from vacation and the holiday. Hope everyone had a great summer out there. And wishing our students who go back to school on Thursday a fantastic academic year. So that's all I got. Thank you.
That's what happens when you go on vacation.
That's what happens when you go on vacation. Exactly.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Daffis? Okay, we'll move on to committee member DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to remind us on at our September 17th meeting, we will have a presentation on the woodland from our historic preservation consultant. We also expect to have a discussion item on our stormwater utility proposal. We just couldn't get it together and get it out to you in time so you could read it and be informed, but we'll have it for you. And it is likely we'll also have a discussion about a recommendation on a housing partner from the Affordable Housing Board. So be a jam-packed meeting. I just want to congratulate the police department on a very successful national night out. As you know, it rained and we had another date and got as many people as normal. So maybe even more. And it was really a lot of fun. Speaking of fun, we had Porch Fest yesterday.
Yes.
After a cancellation on Sunday, it would move to Monday, which made some people very happy because they could participate. And it was a great event. And I want to thank our police department again for all their help. And we worked hard, Ms. Fritzen, to get everything moving. But and they were very appreciative of our reducing the fee for the first year. And so we'll work with them now for next year to make sure that they're covering it.
They didn't have any donation buckets by the band.
No, I think that, well, you know what? A lot of the bands had
Raise it.
tip jars.
Yeah.
Do they get paid?
They do not get paid.
Oh, then they can have tip jar.
So I think
They
that
should
was, it just
divvy
got a
up their
little,
tip.
little
Yeah,
confusing.
a little
Confusing. Saturday, September 21st is the annual Lightning Brook cleanup of the Hilton Neighborhood Association
What
and the
Saturday one.
Environmental Advisory Committee, Saturday, September 21st.
At noon? What time
I
is it?
think it's at 10 o'clock,
Okay.
10 to noon, I think we do. It's enough 2 hours walking in the Lightning Brook is enough carrying those
Yes, it
bags of
is.
garbage out.
We found a lot of clothes. like-
Tonight, on our consent agenda, 308-24, we have a resolution for traffic calming, $100,000. And so that is something we've done now in the last couple of years, put all these together. And so we'll be awarding that contract. And then I may have been sleeping, Mr. Weary. Did you mention anything about the senior bus?
Did not.
All right.
No.
Would you like to tell us when we're expecting it now?
Mid-October,
Okay.
we currently expect it.
Okay. So that's just so some people, someone asked me yesterday, and I just want to let them know we're having, I guess there's always production issues with these. This is a specially designed vehicle, right? This isn't just so folks know, we're getting an electric vehicle for our seniors. So this is a grant we got through Community Development Block Grant from the county. And when you buy these things, you have to spec it out and have it made. And we've been working with the builder to do that. And there are always delays. We thought we'd have it for the summer, but now we're going to have it in October.
Better late than never.
And totally accessible too.
And it'll be totally accessible, yes. It's a ADA accessible.
And quiet because of the electric.
And that is my report.
Great.
Thank
Any
you.
questions for Mr. DeLuca? Do we expect the information on stormwater utility like a week prior to the meeting?
Oh, hopefully next
Hopefully.
week we'll get it.
Yeah. Okay.
And enough time to take a look at it.
Yeah. All right. Committee Member Engel.
Thank you. Well, I guess I'll start with what we just mentioned, the back to school email that our Maplewood PD put out to remind folks that kids are going back to school. Traffic patterns are a little different. There are some street closures near elementary schools. There are going to be a lot of kids and families walking, a lot of people who haven't been to their schools before and might not know where they're going. So just want to remind folks when they're driving to work or getting around town to just please drive slowly, leave a little bit extra time, know where the schools are located so that you're not just driving super fast down these hilly roads and at risk of hitting a child. So just want to make everyone aware of that and really appreciate our PD putting out that email with tips. Our Youth Advisory Committee, which we're revamping, met for the first time last week. We have 2 youth that were appointed this summer, and we are recruiting more. So if you're interested, you can go to our website and fill out our boards and committee application form to join our Youth Advisory Committee. Grades 7 through 11th grade can be appointed for a 2-year term. We meet monthly. You come to these meetings, you learn a lot. I think we have our 2 members on our Zoom listening in, and I'm really excited to get going with them. I'm really excited about the Greenway because anyone who knows me knows I don't stop talking about it, but it started. We have improved the student parking lot with putting lines in. We paved a lane, a bike walking lane. The driveway going from Jefferson is improved. And so we're really excited to get this going for the new school year. And we are talking at our engineering and public works about how to continue the Greenway all the way to Milburn. So more to come on that. And then last is the pool. It'll be my last report on the pool for this summer. And I want to just first thank our Director of Community Services, Melissa Mancuso, and our pool foreman, Nick Waltz. They have worked so hard this summer and have just done an incredible job with all the programming, all the people. It's just been a blast all summer long. They just finished their final week of the season with a float night with a DJ, a live concert, poolside crafts, and a movie night. Tomorrow, the pool is hosting the senior picnic. And of course, we have Dog Day of Summer on Saturday, September 7th from 11 to 1. You register on Rec Desk and you must have a doggy license for 2024 to participate. A postseason survey will be sent to all people who are registered for the pool. So please keep an eye out and participate in that survey. And just to kind of recap our 2024 season, this is what Ms. Mancuso wrote. For 2024, the pool had a large-scale capital resurfacing project, new family changing room, 2 new shade structures, fresh paint with color change, and some new awnings as well. We refined and improved our Learn to Swim programming, had a winning Mako season, sold out 2 weeks of mermaid camp with fresh programming, and opened for heat waves. Regardless of infrastructure improvements and enhanced features, the staff is what makes our pool stand out. From increased trainings, in-services, and staff appreciation events, to a culture of promoting from within. Ms. Mancuso is most proud of the team who makes the work possible and the pool safe. We look forward to some off-season updates and hope everyone stays in touch on land in the off-season. Thank you for the memories and keep our Instagram active at Maplewood Community Pool. That is my report.
Great. Any questions for Ms. Engel? No. Okay. So my report also sort of dovetails into, because I'm going to speak a little bit for Deputy Mayor Kripe, who can't be with us tonight, and as from Recreation Department. So talking a little bit about what's been going on from Community Services. As Ms. Engel mentioned, Ms. Mancuso has a very hefty schedule of events and programming that we're very privileged to have in town. So just a few things for recreation stuff. There's a Laura Holtz tennis tournament to fight epilepsy is Saturday, September 7th. A few spots are left to register on Rec Desk. Community meditation on Saturday, September 7th. Maybe I should go to that. I could use that. From 4 to 5 p.m. in Memorial Park Amphitheater. You can register at Rec Desk also. We just register at Rec Desk because it's really hard to say at all of these things. And that's maplewood.recdesk.com/community/program. Fall pickleball is open and begins on September 14th. For all ages and all skill levels. I know that was a question. D-Hart Fall Basketball League is going with great participation. Maplewood South Orange Softball has 12 teams playing fall ball this season, over 125 girls from ages 8 to 14 hitting the fields for practices, and all games are on the road. They have using up a lot of Maple Crest Park, I understand it. So MAPSO travel basketball travel team tryouts are coming soon, so look for publication on that. Practices will start late October. Hometown Ultimate Frisbee has a few spaces left for co-ed players grades 6 to 8, co-ed intramural. Registration closes on this Saturday at 11 p.m. This program is for those learning to play Ultimate Frisbee from fundamental skills to intermediate. And then Maplewood South Orange Youth Wrestling Club offers wrestling introduction practices and competitions for boys and girls ages grades 1 through 8. And then for seniors, we have a lot. I just want to also shout out to Michelle Wellesley, who does an amazing job. She cares deeply about programming for our seniors, and we do a lot, including tomorrow, the senior picnic at the pool. New watercolor classes on Tuesdays, pen and ink, just some art classes they're all sold out. So stay tuned and look for the next session. Lunch and Learn. They have one on September 10th at 10:30 with the topic of quality of life and quality of mind go hand in hand with a speaker and a light lunch. On October 2nd, the other Lunch and Learn is Partnership for a Drug-Free New Jersey, which will be the role of a grandparent in prevention. They have movie days coming up with an appropriate one on September 24th at 1 PM is 80 for Brady. Kick off the football season. You could go to, yeah, we could both go to that one. 80 for Brady. I didn't see it. Did anyone see it?
I saw it.
Did you? Was it any good?
It's fun.
Okay. Fall fitness is underway. For seniors, register at Rec Desk with 15 classes from aerobic dance to balance and stability. Dance Happy is a fun free blast event on Thursdays at noon. And then also Simply Delicious and Simply Nutritious is a 4-part cooking series beginning September 17th for 4 weeks, and nutrition at 10 a.m. at the senior center. So you need to register for those. And lastly, there's a couple of senior trips coming up, one to Holland Ridge Farms on September 19th, and one to see the Jersey Boys at Paper Mill Playhouse, and then a Sleepy Hollow day trip on Friday, October 18th. So again, shout out to Melissa Mancuso and to Michelle Wellesley for just a lot of programming that, you know, is really way more than I ever remember being available in town in years past, in all the years I've lived here. So thank you. And other than, I was on vacation as well, jet lagged as well. So I actually landed in Alaska on, not supposed to, but we had to.
Oh, we'll have to talk about that. Okay.
On the way. I know you were there. So I thought of texting you. Anyway, if no one has any questions for me,
It's a big state.
it
It's a
is.
very big state. Yes.
I
I don't
thought,
think you see somebody on the corner.
But there's only a few places where you can land an airplane.
Yes.
I saw the flight map that we passed over Sarah Palin's old mayor town. What was that? What town was that? Sarah Palin, mayor.
Oh, yeah. who
Mayor of
knows?
my hometown. Anyway. Okay, we digress. Discussion items. Mr. DeLuca, you have one for the demolition reviewer.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So earlier this year, we passed a demolition review ordinance, which requires anyone who wants to demolish a home, 50% of the home or more, to have a review by the Historic Preservation Commission before obtaining a permit. And the idea is just to decide if that house has any historic significance, and therefore would be prevented from demolishing 50% or more. So in the ordinance, we included a provision for an informal review by the Historic Preservation Commission. And what happened is that we got a prospective purchaser of a building who wanted an informal review, and it became an issue quickly that I think when we talked about it code, that we thought it was going to be someone who was a property owner. We may have not written the ordinance as precisely as we should have, but then this raised a lot of other questions that if someone, whether they own the property or are thinking about buying a property, goes before the HPC for an informal review, gets an informal review, which we say doesn't, is not final, but then makes some decisions or spends money based on that informal interaction. And then when they go for a formal review, there's a difference in what they heard from the informal review. And then someone comes and says, well, when I met with you in the informal, you said that it wouldn't be a problem. So I went and got an architect and did engineering studies. And, I spent a lot of money. And now I go for the formal review and you tell me there's historic significance. You can't demolish the building.
Yeah.
So, you told me one thing, now you tell me another thing. Talk to my lawyer.
Yeah.
So I think we're trying to avoid any kind of confusion by, the recommendation here of the Code Committee and by our attorney and the Director of Community Development is to eliminate the informal review provision, to just make it clear that if you own a property and you want to go for a permit to demolish 50% or more, and you go through the process of having a formal review, it's cleaner, it's tighter. There are provisions as to what the review is supposed to do. And then whatever the decision is, you live with that decision and move forward. So that would be the recommendation to the township committees, that we introduce a change to that ordinance to eliminate the informal review.
This was an area of inquiry that the planning board had as well
Mhm.
when we presented this, when this was presented to them. And I think we should eliminate this.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
So what if we can just authorize, you've drafted something already, so if we could just introduce that
Next
at
meeting.
the next meeting, if we're okay with.
Does that have to go back to the planning board?
Yes, yeah, it's substantial. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. No other discussion items, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
I move it.
Second? Ms. Fritzen?
Staffis,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Sengel.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you. That brings us to our second public comment portion on any subject matter. So this is the time you come up to the microphone, if you will. Give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Yep, of course.
It suggested to me that I come to this council meeting to discuss an issue I have with parking.
Okay.
Outside at 10 Evelyn Court, driveway is full. I have nowhere else to park but in front of the house. And I'm trying to get some help. Maybe I can get a permit to park there. I'm willing to pay for it to avoid paying for these tickets.
How, is this a multifamily? And so how many units are there and how many cars? Mm-hmm.
I own 2 cars. I own a car. My wife owns 2 cars.
Hmm.
That's the issue. She has her car.
Mm. It's a lot of cars for that many people. Yeah,
It'll help us. In
Yeah.
general.
understood. Could you leave your contact information with Ms. Fritzen, the clerk over here? And then, we'll talk about it. We have other concerns about the same problem with other houses, and we're talking about seeing what we can do. Unfortunately, there's a lack of space and not a lot of ways to solve this issue. But if you leave your contact information, we'll get back in touch with you.
It doesn't concern park. This is something I don't understand. Maybe somebody could explain Maplewood, 209 4-D. Is that something to do with property taxes or anything?
Yeah, why don't you? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
I just received this from my manager.
Okay, so this is, under Maple Code. She's passing on part of the property taxes to you.
She's allowed.
Yeah.
Is it?
Well, I don't know about your lease. That would be for legal to, probably, go ahead.
Yeah, we have someone on the rent leveling board or the rent control board who is helpful in answering questions to residents about rent control and what is not allowed per our ordinance. So I can give you my card, and if you want to reach out to me tomorrow, if you want to write your information on that,
Yeah.
sheet, I can have them connect with you and let you know some background on it. All right, you're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, sir, can you go back to the microphone? I have some questions on the parking. Have you discussed any possible rental of space with any neighbors? And what happened? Right.
The mechanic. Well, I asked him. He uses his space. I have another car there, so.
Right.
Also, it was suggested that I talked to some of the owners, business owners.
Mm-hmm.
Dunkin' Donut, and have a laundromat or shops.
Right.
Right.
As far as that's concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody breaks in,
Right.
I block. Something like that.
Yeah. So I think, we hear the problem. We hear problems from other folks who have more cars than they have spaces to park. So we have an ordinance, townwide ordinance, no overnight parking, as you know, from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. because you're getting tickets for it. And right now in the ordinance, the only exception in order to get a permit on the street is if you have no parking so we have some houses that have no parking. They have no driveway.
No
They have,
off-street.
they have no off-street parking. So those are the only houses, and I think there are less than 20 in the town.
There's about 18.
Yeah, so there's less than 20 in the town that we give out permits. So for us to do what you're asking, we really have to take a hard look at whether we want to change the ordinance. And to be honest, it's a heavy lift because one of the reasons we have the 2 to 6 a.m. prohibition of parking is for public safety. We don't have cars on the street. We don't have people coming in and stealing cars. Police are able to do a line of sight when they ride on the street. They can see up and down. There's no cars there. So we'd have to have a conversation. And then also there's for plowing, for street sweeping, we have no cars on the street. So it just helps all around. So I just want to be totally honest with you. In order to solve your problem, we really have to figure out a change in the law. And then that can't just be for Evelyn Court. It has to be for every street in town. And listen, I know the situation. I've been on Evelyn Court. I've stayed on Evelyn Court. My wife lived on Evelyn Court. So there and then on Jacoby Street, and we had problems there. I had to park in Irvington and I know exactly what you're talking about, but it's a difficult situation.
Yeah,
So
but it's been coming up a lot
it's
lately.
been
It is.
but
Yeah.
it changes everything. So it's just not a simple situation as saying, let's give this gentleman a permit. It's going to change the law. And so we have to really think through and talk with our police about what are the ramifications of changing that law. I just want to be honest with you.
That's what they told me at the police department as well. And they were suggesting, well, you come here and see. Not the same thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll be talking about it again at Engineering, Public Works and Planning. And then we should talk about it, public safety. Maybe what we need to do is talk to the chief of police, talk at public safety with regard to possibly, maybe there is something we should do with our existing.
Yeah, or
I am in support of relooking at it because having lived in a multifamily house and gotten all those tickets because either I get locked in my driveway or I have to get a ticket, which is worse. And I think as we look at Maplewood and we want to make it an affordable place to live, we want people to have affordability and we're looking at different types of housing stock. We do need to look at parking because it is an issue when you have a narrow driveway and you are going to have a lot of cars because if it's a 3-family and people have 1 or 2 cars each, that could be a bunch of cars. So I would be in support of, I know I've talked about it with at least 2 of you on this dais. So I think it's something we should talk about.
Yeah, and I brought this up to the committee before, and at that time, we were not ready. And Committeeman DeLuca mentioned the things that he mentioned tonight, as well as the reasons for not lifting it. But we should take another look. I mean, one of the things that our new master plan recommends is encouraging more multifamily housing as another housing access point and equity point in our community. And this is going to be a barrier to that. For the practical reasons that we've discussed. So we need to reconsider, I believe.
Okay, so I think what you're hearing is that we're going to start, looking at, see what we can do and weigh the pros and cons of between the police's needs and DPW's needs with maintaining our streets and cleaning snow and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, appreciate you coming in. Thank you. Any other members of the public want to speak a public comment? None in the room, Mr. Weary. Don't forget, you still have to look for them online.
If any members of the public joining us on Zoom would like to speak in public portion, please raise your hand now. I see no hands.
Okay, great. Can I get a motion to adjourn, Mr. DeLuca?
So moved.
Second?
Staffis,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes, thank you. I'll see you all, September
17.
17. Thank you. The math is a little slow.